G'day, Tragic here, and welcome to Eldritch Horror. This is the first of the series, really. I mean, we're still not going to have any gameplay in this one. We're just going to go through, we're going to pick our goos. I'll go through the powers of the investigators, and then we'll get started. So I asked you guys who you'd like to play, and these were the goos you suggested. We have, however this is pronounced, Anti-Delvinian or something. We've got Nephrem Carr. We have good old Yog, one of my favorites. We have Shabble, one of my favorites. We've got Hypnos, very cool. And we've got Shub-Niggurath, one of my favorites. So we've got a lot of classic ones from Arkham Horror 2nd Edition and some new cool ones. So now the way this works is some of these have boards attached to them, and by far the most popular board is the Dreamlands board that had the most votes out of anyone. Also, Hypnos here, which is a Dreamlands boss, had the most votes as the great old one. You can hear the kookaburras going nuts outside. What I need to do now is randomly choose from these guys. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's good. So what we're going to do, we'll just give that a shuffle. And then I'm going to roll to find the boss. Now, I also asked people to look at which prelude they want to use. Now, some of these preludes only function with an expansion board. I mean, they add an expansion board. But if we get a goo that adds an expansion board, we're going to random from the... Actually, no, let's not random. What we're going to do is we're going to pick the goo, and then we're going to pick whatever prelude was suggested by the same person who suggested the goo. That's what we're going to do. So let's roll once, and we get a 3. So we go 1, 2, 3 to cut it, and then I go 1, 2, 3. Put Hypnos back on the top. Right, so now I'm going to roll to actually find the monster. Okay, so we get an Elder sign, and it is a 5. Beautiful. Couldn't ask for more than that. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is Andelvillian or whatever his name is. And he is our ancient one. And the suggested prelude for that is Unwilling Sacrifice. Okay, so what does this say here? Anti-Delvinium. When a gate spawns that corresponds to the blue omen, spawn one cultist monster on that space. When the omen advances to a blue space on the omen track, investigators as a group lose 1 sanity equal to the amount of sanity on this sheet. Then discard 1 sanity from this sheet. When 3 mysteries have been solved, investigators win the game. When doom advances to 0, flip the sheet and resolve the stars align effect on the back. The stars align. Okay, so we spawn an epic monster, and we've got some other stuff in there we won't read until we have to. So cultists here are no horror, and they're pretty weak, and place 1 sanity on the Ancient One's sheet. Okay. Set aside 5 cultist monsters, 1 deep one monster. Set up the Mystic Runes encounter deck. Place 1 Eldritch token on each of the blue spaces on the Omen track, and sanity equal to the amount of investigators on this sheet. Okay. And what is our prelude? Unwilling Sacrifice. You didn't see the faces of the men who took you in the Black Night, but you can see the face of another who shares your fate. Bound and gagged, the other victim lies helpless on the stone altar beside you. A black-robed figure prepares to drive a jeweled dagger into the victim's heart. With the cultist distracted, you think you could escape, but could you really do so in good conscience? Nay, as the blade comes down, adrenaline surges through your body and you slip from your restraints. You throw yourself between the robed assailant and his victim. The blade sinks into the flesh of your shoulder, missing your heart by mere inches. You wrench the dagger free from your wounded shoulder, and after subduing the cultist, you free your grateful companion. Those who did this to you will pay in kind. That much is certain. After resolving setup, each investigator may spend 2 health to gain 1 character unique asset. Interesting. I will definitely be doing that. Now, one of the things that this guy adds is the Mystic deck, which is this deck here. So this acts basically like another whatever it's called. This is basically like another, I'm having a mental breakdown on what that thing's called. Expedition deck, there you go. So it's basically another expedition deck. So the token goes to 7 space here, or, to the, whatever that is, 3. So I'll figure all this out. I've got to shuffle this. I haven't actually shuffled this one because I didn't think we'd get this deck. So that needs to be shuffled and then set up. Now, if we look at the monster sheet here, we're going to be setting up the stages, and we need, for stage 1, so this is, that's blue, this is green, and this is brown. So we'll just go boom, boom, boom. God, I can't pick up cards for some reason. Okay, so we need one green, 2 brown, and 1 blue. We need 2 green. We need 3 brown. And we need 1 blue. We need 2 green. We need 4 brown. And we need no blues. Okay, so that is the end of that. Okay, so that's ready to go. So we're just going to go through our heroes now. This is Joe Diamond. Action. Choose allies, service, or weapon, then discard 1 asset from the reserve and replace it with 1 random asset from the deck that has the chosen trait. Okay, that's a very, very cool action. We can basically pick and choose the types, the traits that we want. So we can get allies, services, and weapons pretty much at will. Once per round, when you improve a skill, you may also improve 1 other skill of your choice. And he has 7/5. He's got pretty good observation, got okay influence. He's got very good observation, really. So he's basically an investigator. I thought he was a combat guy, but his strength is actually quite low. I was confusing him with that, mobster with the Tommy gun. He also starts with a cult. Roll 1 additional die when resolving a strength during a combat encounter. You may re-roll 1 die when resolving a strength test during a combat encounter. And we'll see how the cards work later. It's a little bit different to Arkham Horror 2nd edition, as in you can only use one out of all. You can have as many cards as you want, but only 1 card that modifies the die pool is allowed. So this cult has 2 powers on it, right? One of them modifies the die pool, as in gives you extra dice, and another one allows you to re-roll from your existing pool. So if I get another weapon that also adds things to the die pool, like a +5 say, I can't use this +1 and that +5, but I can use the +5 and the other effect here. Now we are also going to be playing with these personal stories. The case that got you into this mess remains unsolved. Near as you can tell, you are the only one left that knows anything about it. The case started with you, and one way or another, it's going to end with you too. When a mystery is solved, discard this card and gain the hard-boiled reward. At the end of the encounter phase, if there are clues on the game board equal to or greater than the investigator's +6, that's 12 clues, and that's never going to happen, discard this card and gain cold case. And that's the way these work. So you basically have two conditions that you need to fill, or that can be filled, and they will give you a different power. So that's the hard-boiled, and that's the cold case. One's better than the other. I won't read them out until they're actually enabled. I will actually read the back here. I forgot there's a little blurb here. I'll read that as well. The dame who hired Joe was square, and the job seemed easy on the surface. She paid in advance to have Joe find some codger and deliver a crate. But Joe does not walk into situations without knowing the score. This codger was a member of the Silver Twilight Lodge. Oops, bad sign. Dump the case immediately. And the crate had been stolen from the museum in Istanbul. Like a sucker, Joe went to the cops. For his trouble, he got a broken nose and a dead client, and somebody stole his cargo. Now Joe is ready for a little payback. So, he has a mysterious case. Now I'll organize this table a bit later. Joe starts in San Francisco. So that's all the way up here. Okay, now we have good old William Yorick. He starts in Sydney, Australia. Now his powers, let's have a look. Action. Discard up to 2 cards from the reserve, then perform 1 additional action. Okay, well that's excellent as well. So we've got 2 characters that can modify the reserve. So we should be able to get some really awesome cards from the reserve. And look at the reserve here. We've got like 100 and, I don't know if you can see that. We've got like 198, almost 200 cards. So we're going to be able to cycle through that extremely well. I'm just going to cut them again. And that's because I had to look through the reserve to find everyone's abilities. Anyway, that is really awesome, being able to cycle those cards. When you defeat a monster with toughness 2 or greater during a combat encounter, you may gain 1 non-service asset of your choice from the reserve. Okay, so this guy is more of a combat guy. Strength is all right, his will is good, his lore is good. So he's a good all-rounder. He can cast some spells, fire some weapons, and he can survive horror tests. He doesn't need influence because he's basically just killing people. So that is not a bad little guy himself. Okay. He starts with the Alchemical Concoction asset, the Bury Them Deep unique asset, and 1 focus. So a focus is new to the game for me. I think it came out in Mansion of Madness. It's basically like a re-roll token. You can have a maximum of 2 of these. You can spend as many as you like. This is the Bury Them Deep task. When a non-epic monster is defeated or discarded, you may spend 1 focus to place that monster on this card. Then you may flip this card. Now, the way this game works is that they have these things on the back. I don't read them until I have to. I think that's actually a rule, but it's also more fun. So I don't really know what this does. He also gets this one, the Alchemical Concoction. It's a magical item. You may discard this card to gain +5 during a combat encounter. So it's basically, just like a kerosene, except magical. Awesome. William Yorick always dreamed of becoming an actor, but alas, poor Yorick, it was not meant to be. Okay, whoever wrote that, you need to fire them immediately because that is cheesy as fuck. As a gravedigger, Yorick saw corpses every day. So when inhuman, monstrous corpses started turning up in Arkham, he took the bodies to the Mr. Matonic University for study. Unfortunately for Yorick, this drew some unwanted attention, and fearing for his life, he took to a grave-digging job in Sydney, far from Arkham and far from trouble. At least until the corpses started clawing their way from the ground. That sentence doesn't even make sense. Okay, it should read, at least until the corpses started clawing their way up from beneath the ground. That's what it should say. Fire that person who wrote that card. They suck. Next. Oh, wait. We also have his personal story card I forgot to read out. We'll just quickly do that. To be or not to be. In one hand you have your shovel, your precious life, willful ignorance, relative safety. In the other hand, well, you have nothing in your other hand, the unknown, the mysterious, the dangerous. You cannot very well feign ignorance, not now. When a mystery is solved, discard this card and gain the Commitment Award. When you have only 1 health or 1 sanity, discard this card to gain the Atlas Poor Yorick. When you only have 1 health or 1 sanity, discard this card and gain the Alas Poor Yorick consequence. Look at that awesome little cat symbol for the little Cthulhu cat there. That must be I think that's the Under the Pyramids expansion logo. Awesome. Okay, so it should be noted that both Yorick and Joe are both when mysteries are solved as the trigger. Okay, so Akachi O'Neill or whatever. Let's look at her. She's the shaman. That's probably means she's going to be a great will, decent law. Okay, what have we got here? Look at the top 2 gates in the gate stack. Put 1 gate on the top of the gate stack and the other on the bottom. Okay, pretty decent action. When you close a gate during an otherworld encounter, you may move to any space containing a clue or a gate. That is pretty amazing. Now, she starts in South Africa in Space 15, and she starts with 1 clue and the Mists of Relia spell. So, 15, she's down there. Mists of Relia. During the encounter phase, you may test lore. If you pass, you may choose an encounter as if there are no monsters on that space. Okay, so you can just basically ignore monsters. We want to kill monsters. Kill monsters, I say. It's good for closing gates, though. As a young girl in Nigeria, Akachi stayed apart from the other children, preferring the company of imaginary friends. Her elders feared madness, but the village Dibaya, I don't know. I really suck at doing words I can't recognize. It's part of my dyslexia, right? Because I don't really read. I kind of recognize the shape of words. It's how my brain functions. So when I see a word I can't recognize, I get really stuck. Okay, whatever. So we'll just say, but the village warlock believed that she had been chosen by the gods. The wise old man taught her how to travel between worlds and how to marshal spirits. Now she has become a wise leader herself, traveling across Africa and teaching others to protect themselves. She's recently arrived in Cape Town, and from here, she will track down the dark forces that threaten humanity. Okay, and her personal story is Guardians of the Veil. The spirits are restless. Something evil stirs, and gaining the favor of your ancestors may be the only way to stop what is coming. When you close a gate during an otherworld encounter, place that gate on this card. Then, if there are 3 gates on this card, discard this card and gain the Earth Speaks reward. When the doom advances to 6 or lower, discard this card and gain the Earth's anger. Right, so we need her to solve 3 gates before 6 doom. Okay, so he is in Arkham, good old Arkham, and he has the Feed the Mind spell. Good old Arkham.
Looks like I forgot to read out his actions and stuff, so we'll just, here's the astronomer, and his action is spend 2 clues to discard 1 monster on a space containing a gate. That's pretty cool, but it is expensive for 2 clues, but depending on how mean the monster is, not bad. And his passive is once per round, you may spend 1 sanity in the place of spending 1 clue. Now that sounds great, specifically because he's got 7 sanity, but remember, our great old one is going to be sapping our sanity constantly. So it's going to be really, really hard to use anything that costs sanity, like spells and all that kind of stuff. Apart from that, he's got fantastic will, he's got great observation, and he's got great lore. He's actually a very strong support character.
Action. Test lore -1. If you pass, choose an investigator on your space to improve 1 skill of his choice. It just says, it doesn't say choose another investigator. I've seen that keyword before, so I think he can actually cast this on himself. So that's awesome. He can improve skills very quickly, depending on what the penalty is for, on the back of the card. The scientific community ridiculed Norman for his claim that 6 stars disappeared from the sky. After exhausting every possible astronomical explanation for answers, he took a position at Mr. Metonic University and began exploring more improbable possibilities in the restricted section of their library. Well, if you're going to study the weird, Mr. Metonic sounds the place. While reading an ancient text of dark prophecies, Norman found an exact description of the phenomenon he observed. If the tome is to be believed, a terrible incursion into our world is imminent. Oh, the forbidden knowledge. The forbidden knowledge. Right, and here is his personal story. Written in the stars, you set about saving the world in the same manner that you would set about a physics problem, meticulously, one step at a time. When a mystery is solved, discard this card and gain the foretold reward. When the omen advances to a blue space on the omen track, place one Eldritch token on this card. Then, if there are 5 Eldritch tokens on this card, discard this card and gain discredited. Okay, so it's another mystery solved one. So we've got to solve that first mystery as fast as possible because half our personal stories are mystery solved triggers. So if you look, we actually have 2 blues in a single round. So that's quite, actually I'm just going to put an Eldritch token on both of these things here, just so I can remind myself. I've got 2 different triggers on that now. Good old Skids old tool, hey? Ex-convict. Action. You may discard one item or trinket asset to gain one item or trinket asset of your choice from the reserve with value equal to or less than 1 plus the value of the discarded asset. Okay, let me try and decode that wall of text there with its lots of, how many times can I say bun before it sounds weird? What this is saying is that if he has an item or a trinket on his inventory, he can discard it to take one item or trinket from the offer with a value of 1 plus his discarded trinket or asset or whatever. So you can basically swap out items. Very, very cool. Another card that allows us to modify the offer. That's crazy. Okay, and whenever you roll 1 during a test, you may re-roll that die. That's awesome. Got to remember to do that though. Okay, he starts in Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires. I'm so Buenos Aires.
Buenos Aires. I say kill them all. Yeah.
Okay. And he starts with the axe asset. Gain 2 strength during a combat encounter. You may spend 2 sanity to re-roll any number of dice when resolving a strength test during the combat encounter. Skids got put away on 2 counts of bank robbery, but he never hurt anybody. His cellmate, Brad Hollins, killed 9 people. Hollins said that an alien creature made him do it. Over the years, Hollins said a lot of strange things about the Ancient Ones. He said that he needed to get to Argentina to stop them. Skids didn't give it much thought until the night Holland burst into flames. When Skids got paroled, he couldn't shake the thought of these Ancient Ones. Well, don't get too curious, good old Skids, because they're mean. Well, they're not really mean. They're indifferent. Okay, his personal story. Leave it to chance. Sometimes life comes down to the luck of the dice. That's very true. I agree with that, especially in this world that we're in. You know that better than most. You can live your whole life straight and narrow and then have it all taken away from you in the blink of an eye. This is a comet effect. Roll 2 dice. On the sum of a 7 and 11, discard the card and gain the lucky 7 reward. On a sum or 2, 3, or 12. On a sum or 2, 3, or 12. What? Discard this card to gain the snake eyes. So what the hell does that even mean? So I'm thinking on a sum, it means if you roll 2 dice and it adds to 7 or 11, you get the lucky reward. I think that's a misprint. That should be on a sum of, not a sum or. So on a sum of 2, 3, or 12, discard this card and gain a snake eyes. Okay, Flynn Edwards. He is in the American Metropolis space 5. So that is 5. Bam. God, we're all clumped up over in North America there. Action. You and or another investigator on your space may move one space along a ship or train path. Wow, that is pretty cool. So he doesn't need to spend actions to pick up tickets. Awesome. Effects. Cannot cause you to discard item, trinkets, or ally possessions unless you choose to. That is also pretty cool. He has the Cat Burglar asset, the Whiskey asset, and the Courier Run unique asset. He's got a whole bunch of stuff. Flynn was making a good living running liquor from Canada to cities all along the East Coast. He never got caught and never lost a delivery. Now he has taken a job in Chicago and gave his word that he could get it done. This time it wouldn't be alcohol he's delivering, and it wouldn't be the local sheriff trying to catch him. Finn's caught up in some supernatural conspiracy, but in the end he adheres to the same principles. Deliver the goods, don't get caught. Cat Burglar. Action. Roll one die. On a 5 or 6, gain an item or trinket asset from the reserve. On a 1, discard this card. That's awesome. Another card that allows us to modify the offer. Whiskey, the good old whiskey. You just discard it and gain 2 sanity. Oh, actually, no, it's a bit different in this one, isn't it? Hang on. You may discard this card to prevent an investigator on your space from losing up to 2 sanity. Okay, so it's a little bit different from the Arkham one. So this prevents damage, not heals damage. And the Courier Run. Task. When you gain this card from the deck, place one random clue that corresponds to a city space face up on this card. After resolving a location encounter on that space, flip this card. Do these count as city spaces? I guess they do. They look like cities. Or is it only these big ones? I think these ones also count. The little black ones here. Okay, and don't get caught. You are the best around. You know it. The cops know it. But that infamy comes with a price. You know they are watching you, just waiting for you to slip up. When you flip a Courier Run unique asset, place one random clue face up on this card. After resolving a location encounter on that space, discard this card and gain the Notorious Smuggler reward. When you gain a detained or wanted condition, discard this card as the known criminal. Okay, this one should be pretty easy to trigger actually, because we start with a Courier Run, so I just need to do that and then go to the space. And he also, because he's got the smuggling ability, doesn't even need to pick up tickets. So this should be a no-brainer to get organized. There's our great old one. There's our deck. Here's our encounters. I'll shuffle them a bit later off camera. And here is our mysteries. Okay, so I've shuffled these guys up. Bam. Let's cut that. And I'll do the same thing with this one. I've forgotten how you determine which one this starts on. I think it just starts on the green comet. I don't know, I'll figure that out. Maybe I have to roll for it. Okay, so the Mystic deck is starting at number 2, which is down here. It's very handy. And the Expedition deck is starting in the heart of Africa, which is also very handy because we have someone in Africa. Awesome. Now we also need to set aside 5 cultists, 1 deep one. Okay, so we need 5 cultists and 1 deep one. 5 cultists and 1 deep one. And there we go. Bam, we are now set up and ready to rumble. So all we've got to do now is draw the gates and activate this thing here, the unwilling sacrifice, and pick our characters. Now I'm going to do that in the next round, and the next video we're going to have the first turn and get into it. So yeah, this whole video is not really any point to. It's just to read the flavor text and do a bit of an overview of the finishing up the setup. But that's it. We're ready to go. Now, if you're wondering how I'm going to do things, I use a bowl for the gates. The way I do it is if I pick a gate that doesn't go anywhere, I just skip it. If I'm going to stack the deck, I put them on the table. So that's how I do that. Just makes it easier. Less stuff to knock over for my cat. And that's the same for our clues. I just pull out a clue And if it's a clue for a space on that we don't have, I'll just discard it and pull another one. So that's it. Now I don't really use the first player marker because you can pick whoever you want to go first, and then I'll just go in clockwise order. So clockwise order is just going to be boom, boom, boom. Well, not clockwise, but this is the order I'm going. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I pick that person, it's him for second. So this one, it's 1, 2, 3. If I pick that one, it's 1, 2, 3. Okay, well, I think that's everything. I am very, very excited to get started. I will bring in that new video ASAP, and I will see you guys. Oh wait, I just need to read the rules, find out how this thing works, and like where that one starts. Oh, and also we start at 13 on the Doom track. Okay, that's that. Oh, I'll draw the offer and everything next turn as well. That's it. I will see you guys next time.